All right, what is happening? Welcome to week 3 of the Other D1 podcast, covering all things FCS football and Southland Conference. My name is Jordan Selfo. As always, joining me is Kyle Fishy Fishbeck. Kyle, how we doing, bud? How was the weekend?
Another great one, man. A lot of good games this week. Fired up about it. About
Yeah,
yourself.
pretty damn good. I literally sat up here in the man cave for 2 straight days watching college and NFL football. So that was pretty awesome. Had a big boy purchase, got a new car. So that sucked. So I'll be
Man.
paying that off for the next 27 years. So that'd be great. But no, I mean, it was awesome. We had some great games and a lot of games we came up short in as far as the Southland Conference. I think we definitely have some stuff to build on, and we'll get to all that. And Kyle, you got to get better at your stamp picks, bud. What are we doing with the stamp picks? You're 0-4 this season.
Look, it's like these FCS teams when they go play FBS schools. We're just collecting the check. We
Hey,
are
at least I picked Nichols and they covered against LSU.
maybe the play is just to start fading my picks and people make
Yeah,
money that way. But yeah, it's been bad. We're due for one this next week.
yeah, for sure. Well, we're gonna do something a little bit different this week. So, we heard some feedback, some of the listeners and viewers, and we want to make sure we're staying as current as possible. So we're splitting up the episodes, trying it out. See, let us know what you think. So all we're gonna do is recap week 2 for this episode, and then we're going to drop a episode on Friday with preview for week 3, and that way we can have current betting lines for y'all, because this early in the week we don't get any betting lines hardly at all for any FCS games. So we're gonna try that out this week. So let us know what you think. Kyle, let's jump into the recap. Week 2 recap. We're starting out with McNeese at Texas A&M, and this was a doozy. A&M comes out winning 52-10 on this one. Camden Six Killer. I will never get tired of saying that name. He had a bad game. He's 9-19, 80 yards. Had the 1 touchdown, but the 2 picks. I mean, the notes I had on the picks were, he had that first one basically looked like the receiver was playing volleyball with it. That second one he gets hit as he threw. So tough game here. Hopefully they didn't come away with too many injuries.
Yeah, I mean, this game was exactly what we thought it was going to be. McNeese ran into a buzzsaw. Despite the lopsided score and the box sheet, there's always going to be some takeaways. Camden Six Killer getting the start. Looks like that's going to be Coach Goff's guy.
Clifton McDowell got the yank, and he's out of there. So I don't know what happened. I guess he didn't really have that good of complete performances passing the ball these past 2 weeks. So maybe Six Killer is just more of a pocket passer type of guy. But I mean, you would think McDowell would get utilized as that big rushing quarterback that can get you those ground yards, especially in those short distances, like in the red zone goal line.
Yeah, I have to imagine Coach Goff is going to find a way to get him involved, even though he may stick with too big, too strong, too fast to not be involved in the game plan.
Micah Davey with another good game on defense. He's a problem, like
Yeah.
legit. Like he is a stud. Had 8 total tackles. He broke his streak of double digit tackles. So that unfortunately got broken. And then that flop in the first quarter. Oh my God. He got pushed over and he flopped it so hard, and they threw a penalty on it, and I was laughing my ass off.
Yeah, next game on our list, the game of the week, UIW
Game of the week.
going to South Dakota State. Fortunately, UIW did not get the win there. South Dakota, this is a frustrating one, man. Obviously bias here, pulling from Incarnate Word. You can always criticize the refereeing, and obviously different fan bases will have different perspectives. It really did feel lopsided. It felt like the refs were
Hometown
intentionally,
refs.
blatantly helping out.
Blatantly. I love that.
That's really what it felt like, man. I mean, they're getting South Dakota State out of some jams in times. There was a couple flags on UIW that felt like it really just killed the drive. And there wasn't much on the replay that I agreed with the call. Again, I could sit here and sit in my soapbox and rip the refs for 30 minutes, but at the end of the day, yeah, UIW didn't get it done. But I will tell you this, they looked athletic. They're going to be playoff contender for sure.
Oh yeah, they were picked second in the conference, and I 100% think that was pretty accurate. Definitely think Nichols is number 1, especially after seeing that LSU game, which we'll get to. But yeah, I mean, UIW, they definitely look like once they start finding their stride, they get on a roll. Yeah, they're going to be a problem in the conference for sure. I mean, Calzada threw for 351 yards.
31, I said 31, 39. I mean, that's.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I mean, he definitely he's still missing that little bit of accuracy. Like, we still need to get a little bit more accurate with the ball. He's, underthrowing guys, throwing it behind guys. That's like really grinding through like the tape. That's like, what I'm trying to say. Like,
Yeah, I do. I'm happy with his performance. We said it last week. We knew we wanted to see him elevate his play, and I'd say he checked that box. I mean, he's got
Yeah.
just two absolute dogs at receiver.
Yeah, he
Jalen
does.
Wathel and Roy Alexander both went for over 100 yards. Wathel had two TDs. Alexander had one. There's a reason. Yeah, he's 31 of 39 with 350 yards and three TDs.
When you have two guys that you can just literally throw it up to, that's pretty
Yeah.
nice. And then on the other side, Mark Gronowski doing what he's doing, 4 touchdowns, 285 yards. Like, he was damn good. And then Griffin Wild for South Dakota, 10 receptions for 106 yards with two tuds. Yeah, I mean, that's a good South Dakota State team. There's a reason why they went back-to-back, national champions, and we could see possibly a third this year. I mean, we'll see what happens. Playoffs are the playoffs. Anything could happen, but yeah. Moving on to the next game. Southeastern Louisiana at Southern Miss. They fall short 35-10. This was a tough one. They couldn't get anything going, man. It's like they couldn't find a rhythm. Eli Sawyer was 21-39 for 153 yards and a pick. It was tough. And talking to my dad and brother, of course, I was giving them shit about the end around play where they lost probably 10, 15 yards. And then I was like, hey, take out the end around play. We don't need that play anymore.
Yeah.
Well, it worked last week. What are you talking about, dumbass? And I was like, I'll just shut up. Defensively, KK Reno and Dante Daniels, they both had 7 tackles each. They were leading on the defensive side there. And it's tough with these FBS opponents, just hopefully, next week, once we start getting into more conference play, they'll start finding a rhythm and a stride on the offensive side.
I mean, we saw it last week. Just some missed opportunities early in the game that you felt like they couldn't. It just deflated them on offense.
Yeah.
You get a fumble, Southern Miss's 7-yard line, and you have to settle for a field goal. That's frustrating. They only trailed 14-10 at half, so it's not like they were out of the game. There was just a couple big plays that really made the scoreboard look a lot worse than it was. But I got to tell you, they got 2 tough opponents coming up, Eastern Washington and South Dakota State. So it's very possible they could start 0-4 and feel frustrated about how the season's going. But once conference starts, man, that's all that matters. They could flip a switch and be in the conversation very quickly. And that's why you play those tough non-conference games, so that you're battle tested.
With UIW and Southeastern, they're not backing down. They're going after the freaking national champion, South Dakota State. So that's good to see. And, that brings more exposure to our conference too. Like we're a damn good brand of football down here too. It's not just, the Big Sky. 3 minutes left in the first. They had that fumbled punt return. That was tough. And, Southern Miss gets a touchdown off of that. My main takeaway for most of these games is penalties and turnovers.
Yep.
That's going to win or lose you games, is when you turn the ball over and you have a bunch of penalties, you're not going to be successful. So
Prairie View A&M at Northwestern State, one of my stamp picks. Unfortunately, Prairie View A&M gets the win 37-31. Prairie View A&M had 3 turnovers, 12 penalties for 124 yards.
Yep.
And Northwestern State still had a chance to tie the ball game on the very last play of the game.
I know. It doesn't make sense. I saw the interview with Coach McCorkle at the end of the game where, he's disappointed, but with the expectations that were placed on Northwestern State, which weren't many coming off of last year, he's proud of this group. These boys are fighting hard. They're playing together and they're playing to the last second. So, I mean, the fact that they still had a chance to win at the end of the game, just come up short on a QB sneak. I mean, Coach McCorkle even said that, what if we just run a normal inside zone and the running back gets tackled in the backfield? He was happy with the play call. It was super close and they just fall short. JT Fayard coming up, he was 12 of 31 with 177 yards of TD and a pick. And then Kenneth Lacey, dude, he's been a stud. He had that long run last week against Tulsa. I think that was like a 45-yard touchdown run. And so he had 70 yards with the touchdown.
Yeah, another long run this week, 55 yards. My general takeaway from this was offense has got to find a way to stay out there longer. Time of possession, 37 minutes for Prairie View, 22 minutes for Northwestern State. Yeah, it's tough. And Prairie View gave them every opportunity to win the game.
No shit. They just didn't take advantage of it. I mean, and dude, I forgot to mention this. This guy, Blake Gocher, on the defensive side, had 23 total tackles, 6 solos, 17 assists. That is awesome. That's fucking insane.
You don't hear that every week.
No, you don't. All right, moving on to the next game. We got Mississippi Valley State Delta Demons of Valley State, Mississippi in the Valley of Demons, going against Lamar. They Lamar came out with the win on this one, 28-14. It was pretty one-sided. It seemed like, Lamar pretty much had their foot on their throats the whole time. It didn't seem like Mississippi Valley was making a run at it at all. Robert Coleman looked pretty good. He was 12 of 30, 216 with 2 tuds, and obviously that one pick. The rushing game, Kalen Griffin, 197 yards on 23 attempts with 2 TDs. That's awesome. They were pounding the ball. They're like, come on, stop it. If you want to stop the run, stop it. And they couldn't.
That's a hell of a day. 197 yards, 2 touchdowns. Yeah, there was some stuff they got to clean up, though. I mean, I felt like they let Mississippi Valley hang around a little too long. They looked great in the first half, and then second half, it was just couldn't sustain drives.
Yeah.
A lot of 3 and outs. And then, oh, gosh, I mean.
Oh, I was going to talk about the field goal unit. I mean, the holder at the start of the second quarter, I was a holder, okay? Can't drop the ball. Can't be dropping a snap. And then they got a blocked field goal, and I think it's because it's a left-footed kicker. That's no science behind that. That's what I think it is. But yeah, sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, all good. Yeah, I think if you ask Coach Rosamondo, he's going to tell you that they're happy with the win, but they're not thrilled about the execution all around. 18 penalties for 157 yards is never acceptable, even with the win. So they'll go watch the film and they'll get some things cleaned up. Moving on to the next game, we had Tarleton State at Houston Christian in Houston. Tarleton State pulled that one out.
I would have never guessed it was in Houston.
Just want to clarify for our listeners. Tarleton State pulled that one out 35-18. Tarleton State's a damn good football team.
Yeah.
HCU's playing with their backup quarterback, Cutter Stewart. CJ Rogers is still out with injury. I speculate that's concussion protocol related. No confirmation there, so don't take my word for it. Really, yeah, Tarleton just manhandled them all game. 41 minutes of possession for Tarleton, 19 for Houston Christian. Tarleton ran the ball for 267 yards. You can't win a football game when you're allowing a team to do that to you.
Hell no. I mean, yeah, and then Daniel Greek for Tarleton, he went 15 of 22 for 179 and 3 touchdowns. I mean, 179 yards and 3 touchdowns. That tells you right there that they're ground and pound, run the shit out of the rock. They're getting close, and maybe they're like a play action pass on the goal line or something like that. But yeah, I mean, it's tough. Houston Christian, we'll see what happens next week. Yeah, they definitely got some stuff to work on, but we're trying to stay positive. Okay.
Yep.
Taylor Bell with 13 total tackles and DJ Harris with 10 total tackles. So they had some good, defensive output as far as effort goes, I guess.
Yeah.
Obviously giving up 35 points isn't ideal on defense, but yeah, that's just a tough one. Tarleton State's a damn good team, and they're going to be a problem in the conference when they come next year. So we hear.
Allegedly.
Moving on to the next game, we got Nichols at the LSU Tigers. Go Tigers. Over there in Death Valley, they come up short 44-21. I don't know if that's exactly coming up short. Hey, they covered. This was one of my stamp picks. They covered. Let's go. Love it. Yeah, I mean, LSU's LSU. Shit, starting off the game, I mean, the punt return tackler, so you call him, or the deep snapper for Nichols, bad snap. That was honestly that was a smart play by Dupree, just kicking the ball at the back of the end zone. I don't know if you saw that or not, but he just ran up and kicked it. So, yeah, it's a penalty, but at least it's not a touchdown the other way.
Right.
2 points versus 7. Do the math. And then that double pass play, the trick play for the touchdown at the end of the first half. Oh my God, that was awesome.
Great ball.
By the receiver. I mean, that was like, holy shit. 23-14 at half after a missed LSU field goal. I mean, that's a huge momentum boost for when you're Nichols, right? You're right there, and then it was at one point 23-21 in the third.
I have here that, I mean, you're only trailing LSU halfway through the third quarter by 9 points. I mean, obviously LSU's depth and talent is going to take over, and that's what happened late in the third and the fourth quarter. They held LSU to only 64 rushing yards. If I'm Nichols, I'm watching that film. I'm keeping that tape for years, and I'm showing, incoming freshmen, watch this game.
Hell yeah. There's a reason why they were picked first in the conference. I mean, their defense looks legit with Eli Ennis leading it with 13 total tackles. And this dude, I'll call him Guggenheimer. Oh, Guggenheimer. 145 yards on 25 attempts with 2 touchdowns. Holy shit.
Yep.
Wear all the eye black you want. I don't care.
Yep.
Just keep doing what you're doing. I mean, to have that type of performance against ranked LSU team. I mean, that's big time. They're Nichols. There's a reason why they're picked first in the conference.
Pat McQuaid, not lighting up the stat sheet, but 12 for 16 for 113 yards, efficiency, and most
Yeah.
importantly, taking care of the football. And that's why Nichols was
Yep.
able to keep this game close for so long.
Having no picks or fumbles, yeah, that's huge, especially when you're playing these bigger opponents. Yeah, that's gonna keep you in the game, and then obviously it just started to break away there at the end. But
What are you going to do? Moving on. Next game we got up. Stephen F. Austin Lumberjacks headed up to Denton, Texas, play North Texas Mean Green. Final there was 35 North Texas, 20 SFA.
Eric Morris.
Eric Morris, former UIW head coach up there at North Texas now. I think SFA's got a good football team. We didn't really get to see what they were made of last week playing North American University, blowing them out by 77. Hung with North Texas for majority of the game, and their defense forcing 4 turnovers is really the big headline there for me.
They came to play football this year. After last year going 3-8, they're pissed off and they're on a revenge tour. Yeah, I mean they look legit. They're going to cause some issues in the conference.
Yep.
Especially their first year back. They're like, hey, or I guess it wasn't. Yeah, they're back, right?
Yeah, they're back.
They're back. But yeah, I mean, Sam Vidlak looked. He had some damn good throws. He was 20 of 39 for 181 yards with a touchdown to pick. The pick was a bad throw. That was a really bad throw, honestly. I mean, I can't sugarcoat that one. As quarterbacks, Kyle, we gotta call it like it is when it comes to those.
Yeah, probably a little more critical than others.
Yeah, I mean, right before the half, too. And so it was 21. I mean, it was 21-17 at half. They had a chance. They were right there. SFA recovers a muff punt. Vidlak had a great throw to get him down in the red zone, and they just couldn't get the ball in. They end up with a field goal after that. Man, you got to in these types of games, you got to score. You got to score, especially when you're given that opportunity. I mean, that was probably, I would say, the momentum shift there with North Texas, having a good defensive stand and stopping SFA and holding them only to a field goal after a muff punt. So
yeah, reoccurring theme with these. Go ahead.
Campos. Let's talk about this guy.
Lay it on me.
He's the kicker for SFA. Boy is, let's just say he's well fed.
Yeah.
He is a thick sumbitch. Thick with 2 C's. That was pretty funny when I saw that. I didn't see him last week. I must have missed it. Otherwise, I would have called it out. But yeah, when I saw him go out there and kick, and I was like, okay, got all that ass to get them kicks through the field goal.
Yeah, as long as you're good at your job, all that matters.
And then Jermaine Brown I don't know if you saw that, with a huge 70-yard pick six. That was awesome. And he was breaking tackles and all that.
Yeah.
That was really cool to see.
Coach might think about putting that guy at kick return after that. I mean,
yeah, no kidding. That's all we got for that game. And then moving on, last game, A&M Commerce out at UC Davis in California. They lost 36-22. Tough loss. I mean, they were in it. They were in it for most of the game. And
well, I mean, I'd argue that they had to battle back. I mean, they were down 22.
That's a good point.
With 5 minutes left in the third quarter.
Let's just say I'm an idiot for saying that then. Yeah, they were down. Now I'm finally reading my notes. They were down 22-0, and then they're also down 29-7 at one point. And then they come back to actually give themselves a chance. Going for 2 in the fourth quarter to make it a 7-point game, I get it.
I mean, they had the ball with 1:54 with a chance to drive down the field, score a touchdown, and tie up the ball game. Happened to be a pick six. So that's why the scoreboard doesn't look so favorable. But this game was a one-possession game and came down to the last possession of the game.
And then, we got Ron Peace in there. This was a very throw-heavy game. Ron Peace was 29 of 56 for 457 yards, 3 TDs, and 2 picks.
Yeah.
I mean, and then EJ Oakmon, he was the rushing leader for 14 yards on 8 attempts. So yeah, this was very pass heavy. And I feel like this was similar to the UIW game as far as run versus pass. When you're pass heavy, the defense, they have a lot less pressure on the front, stop the run, because they know you're just going to drop back every time. So you drop more into coverage and be able to cover better. So that's why I think I forgot to mention that for the UIW game. But with these pass heavy games, I mean, that's easier for the defense because you know what's coming.
Yeah, if you find a good way to mix up the run when you have to, you can't abandon it altogether. But yeah,
Just have
certainly do.
some sort of balance there. And then Kendall Paul had 11 total tackles. He led the defense. Brandon Tucker got out tackled. Come on, man. You only got
Yeah.
8. That's it. 8. Come on, man.
The numbers up.
And then another note for this game. I don't know if you saw this fucking dog, Corey, is the cutest sumbitch I've ever seen. He's their kicking tee, like fetcher dog.
Retriever, yeah.
Yeah, whatever you want to call it. Oh my God, it was so funny. I was like, every school in the country needs to have one of these.
Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't be hard to do.
Well, that's all we got for the recap of week 2. We have Coach Blaine McCorkle joining us. He was a great interview. We interviewed him last Thursday, and he's a sharp dude. I mean, he's on it with his answers, and he can spout off statistics like no other. And yeah, it was fun getting to know him and going through his career and as a fellow punt return tackler, right, Kyle?
That's right. No, yeah, it was a great interview. A lot of interesting takes on some questions we asked, some perspectives on things. So yeah, no, really good interview. Yeah, head coach of Northwestern State.
So we'll kick it over to him and see you on the other side. We like to welcome on a very special guest. We have Coach Blaine McCorkle entering his first year as the head coach at Northwestern State for the Demons. Coach, how you doing, man?
Doing good, man. It's good to be with you guys.
Yeah, excited to have you on. And I just wanted to start here. How's it been so far coaching for the Demons over there in Natchitoches, Louisiana? And, you know, especially coming off the year that Northwestern had last year, coming in brand new and basically restarting the program. So how's it been so far?
Yeah, it's been good so far. You know, we know what we signed up for. We got our work cut out for us. There's no doubt about that. You know, anytime you take over a program of any kind, it's a challenge, you know, because you got to kind of come in and establish yourself and your personality and your culture and all that. But when you take over one that went 0-6 and had to shut the season down for, you know, a variety of reasons, that has its own unique set of challenges. So it's been a grind. It's been hard work, but it's been fun at the same time because it really is like building a program from scratch. You know, it's like it's completely as a brand new football team. So it's been fun. It's been exciting. And, you know, I think we're off to a decent start and the kids are buying into it. And
awesome.
Coach, going back to your college career, I saw you play long snapper at LSU.
Yeah.
What was that like? Any crazy stories for us?
Crazy stories. I don't know, like a lot of ways we could go with that. Yeah, it was an adventure, man. That place is it's unique. And you know, I was that kid coming out of high school that I kind of knew I could snap pretty good. Felt like I could do it at that level, you know. But I played center and linebacker in high school too. So I kind of was in this dilemma, you know, do I go to a Mississippi College or a Delta State or something and try to walk on and play fullback or linebacker or whatever, or try and see if I can do it, you know, at that level. Because I always knew I could transfer back if it didn't work for the portal, but you still could. You could go down. And my cousin was playing at the University of Florida at the time, and he walked on as a defensive back, and he kind of made his living on special teams and covered kicks and blocked a bunch of punts. And I was like, crap, man, if he could do it, I can do it. So let me go give this thing a shot. And it worked out. You know, ended up doing it for 4 years and got put on scholarship after the first one there and did it every game I was there. So it ended up working out and just an unbelievable experience. I mean, LSU is one of those, you know, iconic programs. It's just, there's so much that surrounds that thing. And there's so much, I don't know what the word is, just the magnitude of it's just unreal. And then like anywhere, college football is college football, and the relationships, just like you guys, you know, it doesn't matter if you play at LSU, UIW, or, you know, Division III school down the road, you know, the relationships in the locker room are what makes college football special. So there's a lot of things there that were pretty cool to do.
Yeah, I agree. Any aspirations to go pro? I mean, y'all had some pretty good seasons while you were there.
Yeah, you know, that's a touchy subject with me. Yeah. So when I came out, so it was 1998 was my senior year. And at the time, there was probably 3 or 4 teams in the NFL that just had a pure long snapper. David Ben was kind of the guy. He was the guy at San Diego who's like the first pure long snapper. Everybody else had that third string tight end, that third string linebacker, because the rosters were so small, they were going to try to protect the position. You know, like scouts would come in, they talk to you like, yeah, I'd like to bring you to camp, but wish you could do something else, whatever. And I remember the guy from the Steelers was like, hey, if I come back next year and you're 230, I'm bringing you to camp. And I couldn't get above 205. You know, I was my freshman year, I snapped at 172 in the bowl game.
Oh wow.
And then after my freshman year, I was able to put on some weight, and I got up to about 205 or whatever. And I remember him telling me that. I was like, man, I'm gonna do everything I can. I just couldn't do it. So anyway, but I always knew I wanted to coach. That's kind of what my calling on life was. It's like you, Jordan. I mean, been around this thing my whole life. 2 years after I finished, for the first time ever, 2 long snappers got drafted. And I was in like a state of depression for about a month. Like I didn't wasn't for a while. But no, it was a good run. And, you know, sure, that would have been fun to give that a try and whatever. LSU's actually got 2 guys, the Ferguson brothers in the NFL right now, the snapper for Buffalo and the snapper for Miami, both snapped at LSU. So they've had a pretty good run there since then. I don't know. Maybe I got them started. Who knows?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. I mean, talking about growing up with you know, your dad was obviously a coach. Was that, we saw you were a GA at LSU after you graduated. Was that your dad, was that your biggest influence, you know, becoming a coach?
Yeah. I mean, I've used the line a lot that I'm 48 and I've been in college football for 48 years. I mean, it's just like you, it's all I know. You know, I can't
Right.
fathom doing or being a part of anything else. Just growing up in the locker room and being around it. And, you know, I knew that I wanted to coach. And the coaching staff at LSU, I played for Jerry DiNardo, and that staff they were great to me. They really treated me really well. And I think after my freshman year, the offensive line coach there came and grabbed me. He's like, "Hey, I know you want to coach. Just start hanging out with me." I'm like, "All right, great." So, you know, I didn't do like the normal specialist thing with like in practice where they go hide. Like I would do what I had to do. Then I would go with the O-line the whole time and help him run drills. I would sit in all his meetings. I would take notes for him. I'd help him grade on Sundays. And then when I was done, I just naturally transitioned to being his GA. So that's kind of how I got started. But yeah, my dad was a big part of that. My cousin coaches. He's the head coach at Dartmouth right now in the Ivy League.
Oh,
Uh,
nice.
yeah, and then I got an older cousin who's in his 80s. He's retired now, but he was a long-time college football coach. So it's family business, man. It's what we do.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess I'm an anomaly in that.
That's right. You are. Yeah.
I mean, so you were, when you were playing, you were actually, I mean, if I heard you right, you were breaking down film and stuff with the
Yeah, to a
offensive
degree.
line.
And then what they would do that was pretty cool, like when you would get eligible for a bowl game, you may not know where you're going yet, but the season will be over because, you know, the SEC championship would be that week. And if you weren't in it, you knew you were going to bowl, but you had to wait on everything to shake out. So all the coaches would go recruiting, and then the head coach and maybe the coordinators would stay back and run practice for the younger players, like the red shirts, the freshmen, the non-scholarship guys.
Gotcha.
I would actually coach the O-line while he was going recruiting.
Oh,
So that
wow.
was a pretty cool deal that they kind of let me do that while I was still playing, you know. So it's, you know, as a player, you get to go in the staff room and get your practice schedule and, you know, make your plan and all that stuff. And so that was a pretty cool experience that they kind of trusted me to do that and let me do it. And it was a neat deal.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, obviously you have a ton of offensive line experience. Is that your baby now, or
Oh
are you
yeah.
pretty hands on with that, or like
Yeah.
you do you go with any other positions?
I try not to be. I got a great offensive line coach here. Kate Camp does a tremendous job for us, but at practice, I find myself standing right next to him, you know, and we're kind of looking at the same thing and it's kind of
Yeah.
speaking that language. So everything to me kind of starts and stops with that. I mean, it's really that, you know, I spent 1 year coaching receivers in the triple option. We just did offensive line drills because we're just stalk blocking.
Yeah.
And then I coached tight ends a year here or there, but other than that, yeah, I've always done it. And I just, yeah, that's my baby. That's where I spend my time.
That's awesome.
Coach, looking at your coaching history, I mean, you've been all over, man. Tennessee
Yeah.
Martin, Chattanooga, Liberty, just to name a few. You have a favorite stop? Obviously, Northwestern excluded.
Yeah, but well, before I got here, before I was here, I was the head coach at Belhaven Division III school in Mississippi the last 6 years, and that was a unique experience because I really didn't know or understand what Division III football was. So I went in there and honestly kind of treated it just like an FCS program because it's all I knew. So that, you know, being a head coach for the first time, there was a lot of learning things there and special experiences. So a lot of that was very special. The last three stops I was at, I've been at a lot. I'd say the last three, but the Liberty, Richmond, Delaware, that run of three schools there. I was with the same head coach, Danny Rocco, the whole time. He's head coach at VMI now. We had some really good runs, and all three of those places we took over programs at the time that were not doing well, and we're able to turn them around pretty quick and do some pretty special things. So those three places were pretty great. You know, the time at Richmond, I was there 5 years. Other than the 6 years at Belhaven, that was the longest I was anywhere, and that was a pretty special place. Met my wife there, so that was cool. But we had some really, really good teams, coached some really good kids that I'm still really close to. So yeah, they're all unique and special in their own way. But I think those last three were before I became a head coach, were all three pretty cool stops.
Nice. I mean, obviously, you know, you turned around Belhaven at the D3 level. Was that kind of like a draw to come to Northwestern, is just having the opportunity to be able to turn a program around like that?
Yeah, I think so. You know, I having been at LSU and being there for those 5 years, that was longer than I lived anywhere in my life. You know, being a coach's kid, I went to three high schools in three states.
Yep.
So,
Jeez.
yeah,
Me too.
that's what we
Me
do.
too.
You know, that's what we do. So like I joke, I have no class reunions to go to, right? So that 5 years in Baton Rouge, it kind of became home. I'm like, I guess I'm a Louisiana guy. That's what I am. I've been here longer than anywhere. And that's where all my friends were. And then now I started having family there when you got married, had kids, whatever. So I've always wanted to kind of come back to Louisiana. Spending all those years in FCS football, I've always watched the Southland really close because I thought, man, that's be a cool conference to go back to and coach, you know, just kind of level I was and where I wanted to go. So all those things kind of came together, and it did work out too that, Northwestern State is in need of a serious turnaround right now. And for whatever reason, that's just kind of been my path. You know, I mentioned Liberty, Richmond, and Delaware. All three of those, we took over losing programs, were able to turn them, and then did the same thing at Belhaven. So 4 times I've been able to be a part of that process. So it kind of made sense, you know. So everybody's like, man, that's a tough job. Why would you take that? I'm like, well, I've done this a few times. It's kind of, It's what we do,
Right.
so yeah, there was a natural draw there. I think there's a
Yeah.
lot that just made sense once we got into it.
Fun challenge, I'm sure. Difficult at times, but I'm sure it's fun. What
Yeah.
was the biggest difference between Belhaven D3 and the FCS in terms of being the head coach? Was it recruiting, the talent, or budget related?
Probably just the talent, everything else. College football is college football, budget wise. The difference there is it's a private school where here's a state school. So the funds are actually a little bit more similar than you might think as far as things you can do financially. A lot of those private D3 schools can really have some pretty good resources and can do some things because they're not spending money to pay for scholarships. Those kids are paying to be there. So that's a lot of money that they can spend.
It's a
A
good
lot of
point.
schools,
It's a good
a lot of
point.
those schools, like, it's $38,000 to go to Belhaven. Well, every kid that comes in the school's getting $38,000 instead of paying $38,000. So you just use that for your travel, your recruiting, your gear, whatever. So there were some advantages to that, but the talent is the biggest one. It's just a different type player. And then once you get on the field's the same size, still 11 players on both sides, and they're still 18 to 22-year-olds. So cognitively, they're the same. They're just not doing it as fast, or
Right.
sports. But the things you do, X's and O's, are the exact same. I mean, there's nothing we do any different. I think it was probably tougher for the people at Belhaven when I came from FCS to there than the people here for me going D3 to here, because when I went to Belhaven being D3, I didn't know what that meant or how people approached it or whatever. So I just did it like we were doing at Delaware when I left there, which is a high-end FCS program. I was like, well, this is just how you do it. I don't know anything else. So
Right.
we used to talk a lot about at Belhaven that Division 1 is not a location, it's a mindset, and we really sold our kids there that, hey, you're a college football player. It doesn't matter if you're at Alabama or Belhaven, there's a way you carry yourself and there's a standard you have to have. And our kids really bought into that mindset that, hey, we were playing D1 style football and running a D1 style program at a Division 3 program. And that was our advantage, because we would see other teams come in doing things a little bit less than, we'd like, they're D3, even though we
Yeah.
were two, but we didn't believe it. And I told our AD, hey, there's things there that we did that are more D1 than we're doing here, but we've got to get there. That's part of turning a program around. So yeah, I didn't really buy into all that too much.
Fair enough. I mean, yeah, I've always thought, coming out of high school is like, hey, if I don't go D1, Power Five or a Group of Five, then I'm not really playing college football. But
Yeah,
I learned that as soon as I got to Incarnate Word is like, now football is football in college. Like
that's right. That's right.
there's still some
Uh,
dudes, and that definitely opened my eyes, and that's a great way to put it. But
Yep.
I wanted to ask,
That's the beauty, real quick though, of what you guys are doing, and the title of your show is perfect. The other D1, it's like, hey man, it's still college football. So that's why
yeah,
I kind of appreciate what you guys are trying to do and how you're trying to spin it, because everything I just said, I think in a nutshell, is what you guys are trying to do with this. So I think it's pretty cool.
no, I appreciate that. It's been, we've hit our, fumbles and stuff, but
Sure.
trying to get this podcast launched. No,
Yep.
we're definitely trying to bring more exposure to FCS as a whole. So, but yeah, I wanted to ask, with you playing at LSU and then all the different stops that you've been, is there one guy you have in mind that, oh my God, this is the greatest athlete I've ever played with or coached or anything like that?
Yeah, first guy that probably comes to mind is Kevin Falk. Kevin was we were in the same class. Just to watch him on a every day, just in and out, he was just unique and special. I mean, there's a reason he played for the Patriots for 13 years. He's hard to describe. And his athleticism is generational, I guess is the term people use now. But the way he worked, the way he carried himself, he was always just kind of one of the guys. I just had so much respect for what he did. His teammates loved him. I could never say a bad word about Kevin Falk with all his accolades and everything he did. He was just unique and special, and just like a privilege just to like be in the same locker room with him for 4 straight years, just watch him operate. It was
Yeah.
pretty cool. So when he had a 13-year career, I think it was 13 years with New England while they're winning all those Super Bowls, and he's lining up right next to Tom Brady on third down all those times, it's like it didn't surprise any of us. I mean, that's just who he was. And then the other one, looking at the big guys, Alan Faneca, was there with us at LSU, went the Hall of Fame last year. And, I was talking about when I used to help the offensive line coach grade film, we would sit there and watch Alan, and you'd almost have to grade his film 2 or 3 times to find a minus. He was just so technical and so detailed and played so hard. It was like a ballerina, man, like as an offensive guard. It was just a thing of beauty. And same thing, just a great, just down to earth guy that just, didn't have any pretenses about himself. He just came to work and did his thing. So those are the two that really stuck out kind of along the way with the LSU experience. And then, coaching, there's always guys, you talk about, like I was talking to somebody the other day, there's a guy that's a GA on my staff now who played for me at Belhaven, was a Division 3 player for us. But if I had to name the top 5 that I've ever coached just holistically, he's one of them, just because the way he handled himself. He was a captain and a first team All-American for us at Division 3. So he's not going to play anywhere else that I probably coached. He had some scouts look at him, whatever. He played for us here. There's no doubt about that. But it's about what you do with what you have, and he's
Right.
guys that just absolutely made the most of everything he has. That's why he's on my staff now. If I ever get a chance to hire him full time, I will, because he's going to be a great coach. Got a kid named Kendry Boatman, and just a special dude. So there's two guys that had NFL Hall of Fame careers and a guy that played D3, and I'm putting them in the same conversation. So that's kind of the beauty of the game and what you do. It's like, what are you going to do with what you have where you are? And I think that kid, Boat, we call him Big Boat, he's a big dude. He made just as much out of his God-given talents as Kevin and Allen did, and took him as far as he could. And that's why he's going to be successful in life, just like those two guys are outside of football. So I think that's the beauty of the game,
Yeah, for sure.
Piggybacking off of that, talking about the D3 guy, and you have a guy with a 13-year NFL career. I mean, we're in a completely new landscape with college football. What's been your approach with this transfer portal and NIL situation?
Yeah, I think they're both from the pits of hell, man. They're awful. Like, Jordan, your dad talks about he calls out the NCAA all the time. He's exactly right. Like, it's like, I don't know, they got both of these wrong, and like the NIL piece, I get to a degree. Like, I think there is, there's so much money in our sport that why shouldn't the guys be able to get a piece of that pie? Like, I get that, and I understand that, and I support that. But I do think there has to be some more regulation to it, because it gets out of control. Like, what about the kids at our level? If we're talking about all the revenue sharing that's coming now, and FCS schools having to pay the Power Fives and all this stuff, that's insane. Well, what about my kids? My kids are out here busting their butt every day too, and putting on a show and making money for the university, just like those other schools. Maybe the money's the same, but they need a piece of that pie too. But the portal piece is a whole different conversation. The portal piece is just, it's taught our kids some terrible life lessons. It's giving them a way to quit. It's giving them the easy way out. There's no such thing as loyalty. And then they'll throw back at you, well, yeah, but coach, you're going to take a better job if you get it. Yeah, but I'm 48 years old and this is my chosen profession. We're talking about you getting an education and learning life lessons to start your life, so you have an opportunity to be better in whatever business you choose. So it's apples and oranges when they throw that one back at you. It's not even the same conversation. So when the NCAA starts doing things that devalue education, we need to really take a step back and look and say, hey, what are we really doing? Because this is still student athlete driven, not monetary athlete driven.
Right.
So there's a lot of holes in that thing. And hopefully this thing where they've closed the window, to where it's just going to be the winter now, hopefully that works and helps a little bit slow it down, but it needs a complete overhaul. There's no doubt about that.
That's been my biggest bone with everything that's going on. Like NIL, sure. Players, need to get paid, whatever. The transfer portal, the FCS is basically a minor league system for FBS. And that's what pisses me off, is like FBS or FCS did all this time and work and effort to get these guys to come to their programs,
right?
And then they can just ship out the next year. And that's what pisses me off the most.
Yeah. The interesting stat that we kind of found, we came here last year and really studied it, because before we got here, I mean, there was 25, 30 guys transferred before I ever even got here. With everything that happened here last year, I kind of get that. Like, it was a mess, and, not anybody's fault, but it was. When we studied transfer numbers and who was going where and what it looked like, FCS is kind of the worst level with it, because of all the kids in FCS football that went in the portal, the studies we found said that 12% ended up still at FCS or higher, which means 86% of the FCS kids ended up with absolutely nothing or at a smaller school. So what are we really talking about? It's making, like, all the kids see on Twitter, these guys posting, oh, I signed this deal with this Power 5 school. Well, the reason it's making news is because it's rare. It just doesn't happen. Only 12% of those kids are kind of hitting those deals and making money or going up to even a G5. The rest of them are right there where we were, or at a lower level. Like this week we're playing Prairie View A&M, and they've got 3 kids on the roster that were here last year. Well, it's not like they just skyrocketed up and went anywhere. We'll play in a couple of weeks and they've got 2 or 3. So just like we talked about the kid a minute ago, played for your dad, is with us last year. They're just moving in conference. I mean, it's like, so what are we really doing? I mean, the grass isn't always greener, and sometimes the grass isn't even really there. So they 100%. Need to realize, once you go in that portal, there's no guarantees.
Took the words right out of my mouth. I mean, yeah, hey, it's a lot of these guys putting their names in there, and you're taking a bet in your future. I get it, but it's not guaranteed. And like you mentioned, those statistics, that's a high number. It doesn't pan out.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, Coach, thank you so much for your time. That's all we got for you. Good luck this week we're recording before Prairie View A&M, so good luck this week against them, and then good luck the rest of the season. We'll be keeping up with you.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah,
thanks, appreciate it. Sometime. Appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. See you, Coach.
See you.
Welcome back. That interview was sponsored by – we're not sponsored.
Not yet.
Not yet. Although I do want to give a shout out to Courtesy Automotive. That's where I bought my new vehicle. If you ever need a Chevrolet, Jeep, GMC, or Cadillac in the North Louisiana area, go to Courtesy Automotive. Shout out to Farron's. But yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed the interview as much as we did. Really appreciate his time, and like we said, we're splitting up the episode this week. So please come back on Friday for week 3 preview. We'll see everybody then. Peace.
Cheers.